God, baby, why you gotta be so savage? Why you gotta keep
Hi friends, Steve Benelek here from Steve Benelek's Mixing and Mastering. Today I'd like to show you how I create a bit of a pocket for the kick to fit into the bass. I also wanted to show you how I sound designed the kick a little bit more to create a little bit of low end that I felt that was lacking in the original kick. So let's take a listen to the kick without any processing first. Okay, so the first thing I did is I just added an EQ and I'm just filtering out the lows and the highs. So this is a dynamic EQ from Waves, and I've got a high pass filter at 50 and a low pass filter at 10k. Now we're going to talk about this little part in a minute, and this is how I've created that pocket for the kick drum to fit and work nicely with the bass. So for the low end, I added this sub kick generator, and this is how I provided the low end for the kick. So without, and now with. Okay, so it has a low pass filter, a mix knob, and then the amount. It also added some volume, so I then just added a trim plugin, and then lastly some tape. So this tape plugin has a nice bass bump on the 1/2 inch, so that's what I went for, and it also just smoothed it out a little bit more. Okay, now I wanted it to cut through the mix a little bit more, so I duplicated the track and added this plugin called the Punch. Now I think this is like a transient designer, and it might have some saturation in it as well. I've just got it on 25%, and this is what allowed it to cut through the mix a bit better. So without it, and now with. Okay, now I wanted to glue them together a little bit, so I sent them into an auxiliary, and on the auxiliary I have the FG Grey compressor from Stephen Slate. Now I've got it on an auto release here. I'm also a little bit of makeup gain. The threshold's at -19 and we're on a 4:1 ratio. Okay, a very fast attack, and let's listen to that together. Okay, so it's doing somewhere between -6 and 7 dB of gain reduction. But that's really gluing those two together nicely. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at the bass guitar. So this is what the bass sounded like without any processing. So what I've done is I've got another EQ. Alright, and we're going to talk about that again, just a little bit of filtering. 30 for the high pass and 10k again for the low pass, and then that's that notching again, so we'll have a look at that in a minute. Then I ran it through a guitar amplifier, but what I did is I turned the amp off and it's just going through the cab, and I think that just smoothed it out nicely. So before, and now after. Now let's have a look at one of the ways with the EQ how we created that space. So on the kick, so on the kick, what we've done is I've got a boost at 120, and then I have a cut at 80. All right. Then I've done the opposite on the bass guitar. So on the bass guitar, I have a boost at 80, and then I have the cut at 120. All right. So this is just going to create a nice little pocket for the kick to sit into. The last thing I did too is I created a bit of a sidechain triggered by the kick on the bass, so that every time the kick hits, it's just going to duck the bass down a little bit. Okay, so we'll enable that, and first of all we will mute it, and then we'll put it on. Okay, so I think that allows those two to sit a little bit nicer. Now, one last thing to remember is you have to decide where the bass and the kick's going to sit. So whether the bass is going to be in the lows, in the sub region, and then the bass is going to be in the low mids, or the other way around. Now, in this case, I decided that I wanted the bass to be more in the sub region, and I wanted the kick to be up in the low mids. Okay, so that's sort of what I went for. Let's listen to it now in the context of the mix. Okay, now I'm going to make everything inactive. And then let's listen to the kick and the bass raw without any processing.
Oh God, baby, why you gotta be so savage? Why you gotta keep causing havoc? Is it 'cause you're
Alright, and now let's put it all back on again.
oh God, baby, why you gotta be so savage? Why you gotta keep causing havoc? Is it 'cause you're real nasty? Got me spending money I don't have it. She flexing on her friends and no, she don't give a damn. She whipping foreigns, EP9s and Rarries on your bitch ass. But why you gotta be so savage? Why you gotta keep causing no God, baby, why you gotta be so savage? Why you gotta keep causing havoc? Is it 'cause you're real nasty? Got me spending money I don't have it. She flexing on her friends and no, she don't give a damn. She whipping foreigns, EP9s and Rarries on your bitch ass.
Okay guys, so that's what I did to create that pocket for the kick and to add a little bit of low end to it. So thanks for watching this tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you all next week for next week's tip. If this is the first time that you've found Steve and Alex Mixing and Mastering, we have a group on Facebook, so please feel free to come and join that, and I'll provide a link in the description as well. Okay, take care guys, happy mixing.
God, baby, why you gotta